I taught myself to cook. Over 20 years of obsessively experimenting in the kitchen and questioning everything to create my magical restaurant dishes. Now I'm going to share my secrets with you so you can cook like me at home. It looks brilliant, doesn't it? Each week we'll look at one key ingredient, like chocolate, beef or eggs. This week it's miraculous cheese. I really believe that by getting to grips with your ingredients, you'll gain the confidence to be more creative with your cooking. I like that. I'm going to go back to basics, challenge traditional techniques, and compile a compendium of tips to transform how you cook at home. I'm taking 5 from that one. So come and share my innermost secrets. Cheese, the ingredient with some of the most varied flavours and textures on the planet. It's incredible stuff. This is fantastic. This week I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about cheese. I'll smoke it, bake it and beat it. And once we master the basics, we'll move on to some real cheesy magic. The stringiest fondue you've ever seen.
Look at that, look at that.
And I'll transform plain old cheese on toast.
You didn't see that.
Into ice cream. Oh, and you'll need my old favourite, dry ice, a blowtorch and an ironing board. Irons to all, check. After all that, you'll never cook or look at cheese the same way again.
It's really delicious.
To get started, I'm sharing my secrets to a cheese sauce so smooth and incredibly gorgeous that you'll want to smother pretty much everything in it. Ladle it over pasta, pour it over your pie. The humble cheese sauce is getting a makeover. Now, traditionally, cheese sauces are always made with a roux, which is where you take flour, cook it in butter, and then milk. But for me, it makes the sauce gloopy and masks the flavour of the cheese and any other ingredients you add to that sauce. I've come up with 4 key steps that if you follow, you'll get perfect results every time. Step 1, you need a flavour-packed base. So reduce 300 ml of white wine to 30 ml and add 300 ml of tasty chicken stock. Now, this bit, the rind, is normally thrown away, but I want to use this because this is going to give me more flavour in my cheese sauce. So chuck it in the pan and leave it to infuse for 20 minutes. I've used Parmesan, but any hard cheese would do the job. Step 2 in the pursuit of the perfect cheese sauce is to finally grate some cheese. 80 grams should do it, and then dust the lot in my magic ingredient, corn flour. The cornstarch will act as a protective coating which will prevent the fat and the protein in the cheese from clumping, and that's going to make our sauce really smooth and shiny. Now I'm ready to add my cheese to the sauce. So step 3 is to take out the rind and turn down the heat. You need to make sure that your liquid is hot enough to melt the cheese, but not too hot, otherwise it starts to shrink. And as it shrinks, it forces the fat out, basically does that. That's not very nice. If you let that happen, the cheese will go lumpy, so make sure the liquid isn't boiling when you add it and stir till it completely dissolves. And then stop. Take the spoon out and stop stirring. A mistake that a lot of people make is they continue to stir. That clumps the cheese together and you're going to lose that beautiful, shiny, smooth sauce. Right, final step is to add some cream cheese. This will help to make it silky smooth. And that's basically it for cheese sauces. As you can see, there's a few key tips, techniques you need to follow, but get those right and you're going to have a beautiful cheese sauce every time. I'll be showing you how to use this basic sauce in recipes like macaroni and cauliflower cheese later, but first I want to tell you some cheesy secrets. There is such a huge range of cheeses. You kind of forget they're all made from the same thing, milk. It's curdled, salted and squeezed dry to produce a huge range of textures and tastes. From the hard cheeses like this Parmesan, which has been aged for at least a year before it even gets to your spag bowl, through to these wonderful goat's cheeses, which are much younger, so they're softer, milder and more moist. Cooking with an ingredient as diverse as cheese looks like it could be tricky, but it isn't. You just need to master one thing: how to melt the cheese without splitting the fat out. Different types of cheese have different melting points. Hard cheese like Parmesan takes the longest to melt, medium cheddar will melt more quickly, and soft cheeses like Camembert melt the fastest. So I've come up with an experiment to show the different melting temperatures of cheeses. I just need my two development chefs, Jockey and Otto, some cheese and 3 irons, obviously. Irons to wall, check?
Check. Whoa! How do you know where it is, Steve?
And once Jockey's worked out how to use an iron, we can begin our test.
Check.
Right, let's see which cheese melts first. I'm taking hard Parmesan made with cow's milk. I'm giving Jockey medium red Leicester, cow's milk again, and Otto's taking the soft goat's cheese. All irons are set to the lowest temperature, wall, and it's Jockey's medium red Leicester which starts to go first.
It's starting to go.
While there's hardly any change to my hard cheese, Parmesan. Mine's just going a bit slimy, shiny. Otto, how are you getting on?
This looks just like dried, hot cream cheese, actually.
Jockey's still on wall, and he's got liquid cheese. Turning mine up to cotton. It's only on the maximum setting that the hard Parmesan starts to melt and ooze fat, but Otto's soft goat's cheese still hasn't split. Time to come clean. Sorry, Otto, I was a bit of a stitch-up.
I knew there was something off.
Fresh goat's cheese is unusual. When it's warmed, it oozes water and remains solid rather than melting and oozing fat. So, although it might be a bit of a pain in the butt trying to make a cheese sauce of this, you can use it to have great effect in certain dishes. In fact, one of the recipes I'm going to show you later does just that. When you know how different cheeses melt, you can play with them for great results. Next, one of Britain's favourite comfort foods, macaroni cheese. Mine contains 3 different types of cheese, pasta infused with truffle oil, and for a spot of extra pizzazz, I serve it in a hollowed-out wheel of cheddar. This is just dried macaroni. 400 grams in 200 mils of water. I'm not cooking this pasta in the conventional way. You can see now it's going cloudy. That's the starch from the pasta. And normally, I want to get rid of that starch. But with this, I want to keep the starch into the water because that's going to thicken the cheese sauce for the macaroni cheese beautifully. After 20 minutes, most of the water is absorbed by the pasta. Pasta's cooked. And if you look carefully, you can see just this little bit of starchy coating. So, time to add that simple cheese sauce we made earlier. White wine, chicken stock, rind and cheese coated in corn flour. Now remember that soft goat's cheese which didn't melt so easily? Well, I'm adding some of that for extra flavour and texture. Stir that in. This cheese will stay in little cubes, so these pockets of liquid goat's cheese in the macaroni cheese, which is delicious. Then drizzle some white truffle oil over the pasta for a delicious, decadent flavour. Just be careful not to overdo it, because it's very powerful stuff. And season with pepper. Now, I could just serve it like that, but I want a bit more theatre, so I'm pouring it into a cheese wheel. Then I'm covering it in grated cheddar and grilling it until it's crunchy on top. That looks fantastic. You can buy whole cheeses from the supermarket. They're not cheap, but they do make this simple dish look and taste spectacular. You look around here, just around the edge of the cheese, we've got all that, some of the, just a little bit of cheese that was still stuck onto the rind. This is just fantastic. Now, I did say you can use that simple cheese sauce in many recipes. Another of my favourites is cauliflower cheese. It's quick, healthy and wholesome, ideal for people with hectic lives. So I'm off to the local fire station to show some of the crew how I make my cauliflower cheese. But first, I want to see how they make theirs.
Heston, good afternoon. Welcome to Beaconsfield Fire Station.
How you doing? Yeah, I'm very good. Quite excited to be here. I've been told they all start with a roux. So will I convince them to ditch this traditional technique and gain more cheesy flavour with my method? First to cook is Chris. Once the smoke's cleared, he makes his roux with butter and flour and adds milk to make a sauce. What a roux does is it adds, because it brings a lot of flour into the sauce, it makes it more gloopy.
OK, going to put the cheddar in.
Chris is using 3 types of cheese, but he's unaware they've got different melting points. He adds firm cheddar and the softest Danish blue together and leaves the hardest Parmesan for later. This means he risks the fat splitting out of the softer cheese, causing the mixture to go lumpy. So the safest way to deal with these cheeses would really be to add the Parmesan, and then you turn the heat down a bit, add cheddar, and then finish off with the blue because it's a softer cheese. Then, to give it a kick, he adds garlic, anchovy sauce and mustard.
Easy, Tiger.
Pours the lot over boiled florets, tops with breadcrumbs and parmesan before putting under the grill until golden.
They should be lovely and brown.
I do like that anchovy in there.
It's nice, isn't it?
I think it works really well.
Very, very subtle.
Yeah, really well. But if you could find a way of just reducing that flour from that roux, all those other flavours would come through.
Watch manager, sir.
Next is crew manager Paul, voted best cook at the station, although not everyone agrees. He's gone a bit left field and he's making cauliflower fritters.
So in here, cauliflower already blanched, 3 minutes, and then just dried it off in the pan.
This is interesting. The sauce is a mixture of feta and red Leicester, which he adds to his roux-based batter mix. Then he adds the cauliflower and fries them in portions. It is really good. It is really good.
Pass it round.
Now, time for my triple-cooked cauliflower cheese recipe, which is all about going back to basics and simple kitchen science. I'm starting with a variation of my simple cheese sauce that we made at the beginning. White wine and chicken stock, and this time Gruyere dusted in corn flour for smoothness. Some cream cheese, and I'm adding a knob of butter for extra richness. No roux in sight here. Now the cauliflower, prepped 3 ways: parboiled, pickled and par-fried for different textures. You're just sort of building up the layers, those layers of flavour. A dash of truffle oil and some salt. Pop it into an oven-proof dish, cover with grated cheddar and grill. Yeah, and the best thing to do now is go and have a cup of tea, sit down, forget about it and burn it.
Spoken like a true
Yeah.
Friday cook.
Once the topping's melted, it's ready. And as there's no flour, my sauce is seriously smooth.
Oh, wow. That looks fantastic.
We'll have a bit of that.
Very nice.
That's good.
This one's really cheesy.
That's really good.
I think we'll adopt that next time we make it. Very good. Thanks, Heston.
I think I convinced them the traditional techniques aren't always the best. We've done the basics. Coming up, we'll break all the rules to do some cheesy conjuring tricks, get the boys' toys out to add depth of flavour, make the world's stringiest fondue. That is one massive cheese string. And a mouth-watering dessert with a splash of dry ice. It's just delicious. Each week I'm taking one ingredient, showing my basic techniques, then showing you how to work some kitchen magic in your own home. This week, it's wonderful cheese. And it is absolutely delicious. Later, I'm going to transform plain old cheese on toast into amazing ice cream. But first, my version of a 70s classic. I'm going to show you how to make the most delicious, rich, glossy fondue you can ever imagine. For me, the stringier the fondue, the better. I got obsessed about this, and I set myself the challenge of making the stringiest fondue ever. So, introducing my unique super stringy cheese fondue. The first step is picking the perfect cheese. Now, for this fondue, I'm using 3 Alpine cheeses, and that's going to give a really nice nutty flavour to my fondue. For super stretchy fondue, young rubbery cheeses are best. So grate a mix of 400 grams of Emmental and 450 grams of Gruyere and Comté. These cheeses here should give a really stretchy result. Now, I found that to get it as stringy as possible, you need to add 2 key ingredients, little bits of magic that will turn this into a really stringy fondue. First, I discovered you need acidity. Turns out acid's the enemy of congealed cheese, so chuck in 2/3 of a bottle of sharp white wine and the juice of 1 lemon. The addition of the wine and the lemon juice will add enough acidity to prevent the proteins from clumping together, which will really help our stringiness. And finally, the corn flour trick. A good coating with this stuff will keep your cheese smooth, so once it's covered, add the lot to the pan. The important thing here is not to overheat this. I found that cheese is at its stringiest when it's right near its melting temperature. Then for flavour, I'm adding mustard powder, a pinch of ground cloves and 30 ml of sherry infused with garlic and thyme. Right, so now, in order to get this cheese really stringy, I've got one final step. It requires just one of these and one of these. And just beat the living daylights out of it. What this is going to do is, as I'm beating the cheese, I'll be lining all the proteins up, so that way we're going to get a really, really stringy fondue. Continue to stir until the fondue thickens. And this is certainly ready. I think this might just be the stringiest fondue I've ever made. It's so stringy. I want to see how far it will stretch. Jockey, is Otto there?
Otto, come on in. Come on in.
Wow, look at that.
That's really strange.
You know, your mum always said, never play with your food. Sorry, Mum.
Do the length of the bench.
Yeah. It's amazing that a chunk of cheese can be transformed into this. That is one massive cheese string. I reckon that's about 18 foot, a personal best.
Look at that. Look at that.
See how far you can go. Can you get into the river? It's really delicious, though. I'm going to see what my fireman friends think of this when they come round later. So far, I've been showing you how cheese can add flavour to recipes. Now, I'm going to show you how to add flavours to cheese. Looking at this hedgehog of cheese takes me back to my childhood. But you know what? We should look at these cocktail sticks not as a joke, but it's a great opportunity to try the cheese with other flavour combinations. And here I've got some Gruyere that I've paired with some peach with a little dusting of ground clove, and then some goat's cheese here with some watermelon, and even a little tiny bit of ground coffee on there would work really well. A classic combination is Stilton and port. So I'm going to show you how to make potted Stilton, and I'm going to serve it on some chocolate biscuits. As surprising as this seems, Stilton and blue cheese in general can be fantastic with chocolate. All you do is grate 200 grams of Stilton, add 100 grams of mascarpone and beat until creamy. That's it. So at this point, you can just serve this as part of your cheese board. Be delicious on toast. But what I'm going to do is take a chocolate biscuit, spoonful of the cheese on the chocolate biscuit, and drizzle with reduced port. This is so simple, and you will be amazed at the results. Another great and surprisingly simple way of exploring some of the great flavours that work with cheese is to cold smoke. Now, the difference between cold and hot smoking is cold smoking doesn't cook the food. Cold smoking is an easy yet clever way of infusing cheese with extra flavour, but without melting it. First, make sure there's no coal in the barbecue and place a bowl of ice in the bottom. The ice will keep the smoke cold, which will prevent the cheese from melting. Now, I'm going to smoke some blue cheese with rosemary. Rosemary and blue cheese work really well together. I'm putting a piece of tin foil next to the ice, adding a sprig of rosemary and a few drops of orange oil. Time to get the toys out. Just start running the blowtorch over the rosemary until it starts turning black, and you can see the smoke carrying that beautiful rosemary aroma. Okay, that is now ready for the cheese. Stilton on the top. Pop the lid on, make sure the vents are closed because you want to keep all that smoke in, and then leave it for about 20 minutes to half an hour. I'm using this for cheese, but this technique can be done for fish, for meat, all kinds of stuff. It's really simple. Over here, I smoked some goat's cheese in lemon thyme. Now it's got a really soft, smoky flavour. It's really delicate, but works so well. And on this last one here, I smoked some cheddar in fresh bay leaves, and this is surprisingly delicious. The most important thing about this technique is it's really simple, it's pretty quick, and the possibilities are almost endless. Everybody loves cheese on toast. I certainly do. I loved it ever since I was a kid. So this next recipe is based on cheese on toast, but not as we know it. I'm going to transform some simple cheese on toast into this. An ice cream sundae with strawberry and tomato compote and a parmesan wafer. What's not normal about that? First, I'm making ordinary cheese on toast. For me, cheese on toast has to be cheddar. I'm putting 6 slices of white toast topped with butter and cheese under the grill. So while that's melting, I'm now going to make the custard. This is the basis for the ice cream. A litre of milk mixed with 30 grams of milk powder brought to a simmer. Then I add 8 egg yolks whisked with 120 grams of caster sugar. So my cheese on toast is ready, which I'm chopping into small chunks. He didn't see that. And then, once the custard's cooked, blitz and strain. Now for a spot of kitchen theatre. dry ice. You can order dry ice online. It's cheap and they'll deliver. It's very cold. It's minus 78 degrees centigrade, so don't let this stuff touch your bare skin. OK, so custard in the mixing bowl, and now for the big moment. The faster you freeze your custard, the smoother your ice cream, so this super cold dry ice will work wonders. Within 2 minutes, I'll have completely smooth ice cream. But you can't have a sundae without a wafer. Remember I said one of the cardinal rules for melting cheese is not to overheat it, otherwise the fat will split out. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to intentionally overheat the cheese. This will make the cheese go crispy and wafer-like. I'm heating finely grated Parmesan till the fat splits, straining it and rolling it out. Literally squash, drag the mixture out. I've now got a very thin sheet of Parmesan cheese. Then I'm cutting out the wafers and toasting them under the grill until they're golden. As they cool, they'll go nice and crisp. And that is the wafer for my cheese on toast ice cream sundae. Finally, the sauce. I'm going to add a fruit compote made of tomato, strawberry and mint. Details of this and all other recipes are on the website, channel4.com/Heston. Time to build the sundae. First, I'm adding a dollop of compote, then some ice cream through a piping bag. Some of the ice cream, another dollop of sauce, finish off with some more ice cream, and then top with a Parmesan wafer. So there is my cheese on toast ice cream sundae. It's just delicious, and I kind of think it would be great for a starter stroke main course dessert or pre-dessert type thing. I've invited 3 of the guys from the fire station over for lunch, and I want to serve them my super stringy fondue. I hope you like cheese, because there's a lot of it.
Love cheese.
It's a great party meal because it goes with so many different things.
Potatoes.
Yep.
Crudités. These little ham sandwiches with mustard.
And then there's some fruit as well. Apple, peach and pear. There's your weapons. So just get stuck in.
Just dig in.
Oh, blimey.
It's quite stringy.
Oh, yeah, just a little bit. Look at that.
Traditionally, Tom, that's fantastic.
Good. Peach and pickle. There you go.
Really delicious. Loving it. Really
Great.
But it doesn't take them long to realise my super stringy fondue isn't just delicious. They soon discover you can have a lot of fun with it too.
Oh, here we go, look.
My favourite.
Oh, right. That's why you're the professional.
Next week, the wonderful spud. I'll triple cook chips, banish the lumps for a heavenly mash, and rustle up an exploding potato donut. I've got fireworks going on in my mouth.
The new book, Heston Blumenthal at Home, has recipes from the series and more, and is available now. Hit channel4.com/Heston. Later, getting into a Newport state of mind by meeting the doorman of the pubs and clubs there, bouncers at 10. But coming up, your own burgers and your own baps. It's the Fab Brothers.